Hi everyone, thank you for joining us for SCOMathon 2021. I'm Richard Benwell, founder and CEO at SquaredUp, and I'm thrilled to be delivering a keynote once again at this awesome community conference for SCOM. SCOMathon has quickly become the place for the SCOM community to come together, and so we thought it'd be a good idea to reflect on the results of the Big SCOM Survey and look at the opportunities and the challenges that lie ahead for the SCOM community. If you missed it, the Big SCOM Survey is a new survey that we have launched, a new annual survey for SCOM. We launched under the SCOMathon brand. It's run by the SCOMathon team, pushed out by a number of channels and open to the entire SCOM community. And it's something we plan now to run on an annual basis. We did this in January this year as the first survey, and hope to do it every January to come. We had over 100 respondents, which is fantastic. So thank you very much if you did respond to the Big SCOM survey. And we ran over 27 different questions, which was around everything from your SCOM environment, your use of SCOM, and your future plans. And it's those future plans that I'll be just talking through today and sort of seeing what that means for us as the community. You can see all of the results online. We've both blogged about this and run a SCOMathon coffee break panel discussion. So do go check that out. Just search for the Big SCOM Survey and you'll find all of that online. So I won't be going through everything, but you can find the rest out there. So it seems like a really good time and a really good sort of way to kick off this SCOMathon segment as to remind ourselves of why we are here, which is that we all rely on SCOM, and SCOM is absolutely here to stay. So when we asked respondents how many years they expect to use SCOM, we had a whopping 90% expecting to use it for beyond 2 years, and actually the majority of people expecting to use it beyond 5 years, which is fantastic. So very much here to stay, very much going to be in the tool set for many organizations for many, many years to come. What we also asked is whether you expect your SCOM usage to grow, stay the same, or reduce going forward. And actually this is where there was quite a surprise, given the different sort of trends there are, especially a move to cloud with many IT organizations. It was fantastic to see that the vast majority, nearly everyone, expected SCOM usage to either be maintained or to grow over the next year. And actually many people, 61%, are expecting SCOM usage to actively grow. So that's pretty fantastic to hear, and as I say, really great to come together at SCOMathon as a SCOM community, knowing that really we have a job to do around SCOM for many years to come. So what I'd like to do in this keynote is dig into some of these responses. Actually asking the multiple choice question gives us some stats like this, but it was actually really the text responses, the free text responses around this survey. You're asking why your usage of SCOM was going to grow, stay the same, or decline, that really provided some really valuable insights. And I wanted to surface those insights to the community and share some discussion around them. So first off, let's look at some of the SCOM opportunities. So for the respondents that expect their SCOM usage to grow, we asked the question, why? Why do you expect it to grow? So the first trend I wanted to pick out from those comments was around monitoring applications. There is definitely an increasing need for businesses to be more service-centric and to focus on the health of their applications, not just their infrastructure. And it's fantastic to see that SCOM is having such a great success in this monitoring area. So let's take a look at some of the comments we had in this Big SCOM survey around this. So first of all, I guess sort of a number just around that steady need to monitor all of your business services. Now, I just picked out this comment just because what we do typically see IT organizations successful with is starting with a small number of applications, proving the application monitoring that SCOM can achieve for those applications, and then rolling it out steadily across all of your applications. So not trying to bite off everything all at once, but really proving it with 1 or 2 applications, showing that value to the business, and then starting to scale that out. And I think one of the reasons why SCOM is so successful is its ability for custom monitoring to be created for it. And that's obviously essential when it comes to application monitoring. So as well as some of the basics that you'll need to know for an application, every application is different, and really SCOM is a fantastic tool to be able to customize for each app. And you'll see here that respondent just mentioning monitoring cloud applications in Azure as well. And we'll come on to the Azure piece in a short while. Good to see use of SCOM APM, although it's not widely deployed. Some people are getting real benefits from it, which is fantastic to see. Of course, on top of all that application monitoring, someone just calling out the dashboards. Everyone loves the dashboard, and it really is a great way to surface the results of that application monitoring. Here they're now customizing SCOM to monitor every application as it gets rolled out. And I think the dashboards are a great way of going beyond just the email alerting. So when you're just responding to alerts and relying on alerts, you never quite know what is monitored and what's not monitored. But with dashboards, you can really show your business what is monitored, and the fact that an application is green, as well as being able to drill down into each application and understand again, what is healthy and what is not healthy. Really important to see that beyond just the alerts. And the final two comments here I wanted to pick out just because they really highlight why the application monitoring is really important, which is that it's not for other teams within the IT organization, but actually those business units. So this first comment here highlighting the demands of the business departments to monitor their applications that they rely on. And the second comment here talking about engaging with the application owners within the organization. And this is what we really see with switching from infrastructure monitoring to application monitoring with SCOM, is that you really start to engage not just the rest of the IT team, but your business users who are actually depending on your IT services being delivered. So some really good comments there, and it's really great to see SCOM successful in that area. We have this year some great content at SCOMathon around this topic. So if that is something that you're trying to achieve or would be interested in learning more about, check out some of these sessions. So we have using SCOM as part of a modern DevOps strategy and evolution. So that's from Yannick. He talked last year about SCOM APM. We have Kevin Holman really giving us, hopefully, a really good insight into how to approach monitoring applications and going beyond that infrastructure monitoring that SCOM is so well known for. So it'd be great to hear Kevin's thoughts on that. And we have a panel discussion with some of the speakers all around how to best monitor applications with SCOM. So hopefully there'll be plenty of content at this year's SCOMathon that you can check out if you want to monitor those applications in your organization. The other theme from respondents saying that their use of SCOM will grow is a bit of a surprising theme, and that is cloud expansion. Now, when we asked this question in the SCOMathon Big SCOM Survey, we certainly thought that we might hear a lot of respondents say that they're expecting their use of SCOM to decline because of cloud expansion. So a real surprise to see many respondents say cloud expansion is the reason for growth. So let's dig into some of those comments and see if we can unpick a little bit sort of why. So the first few, we can just see that it is people highlighting that cloud expansion, wanting to monitor resources in the cloud. And that's not just Azure. We hear about AWS and GCP. The next couple of comments, though, maybe give us a bit more insight. This one's interesting. They're highlighting a project to migrate a number of servers from on-prem to cloud, but actually that project of migration will give an opportunity to introduce monitoring for those new resources. And that could be either because through that migration, you're actually doing an audit of what you have and what application those VMs are part of and so on. So a really good opportunity to put in place the right level of monitoring. And of course, the migration itself is something you might want to make sure you are monitoring and making sure that those new servers running in cloud are performing as expected. So a great opportunity to show what SCOM can do there when it comes to server monitoring. Another interesting sort of take on the problem here, which is again another cloud migration project that this respondent is referring to. So in the process of migrating a substantial percentage from on-prem to cloud, and just highlighting that actually they've looked at the native cloud monitoring services and found them to provide less functionality at an increased cost. which has been a challenge. So people know they are looking for new cloud monitoring potentially, but finding that SCOM is still a great option there if it is server-based workloads in Azure and other clouds. And this last one, or last two, highlighting that there are those Azure Management Pack and Office 365 Management Packs available. And so some organizations looking to incorporate those into SCOM and show how SCOM can provide expanded monitoring beyond just the server workloads on-prem. So a bit of a surprise that many respondents are expecting a growth in SCOM due to the adoption of the cloud. Now, what we're going to see is a flip side to this later, but it's kind of great to see certainly that it's not all a negative point of view from SCOM monitoring the cloud. Now, it's obviously a hot topic. We have two great sessions on this, hopefully sort of similar questions. So SCOM or Azure Monitor, when to use which, and monitoring hybrid environments, when to use SCOM or Azure Monitor. So from John and Dieter there. And I think it's going to be great to get those two different points of view. And I'm sure we'll have many discussions at SCOMathon around this topic. The last theme, sorry, the third theme that we really saw with the respondents there around growing your use of SCOM was around using SCOM as a single pane of glass. And I think this is really interesting because we all know that SCOM is best of breed tool when it comes to Windows Server monitoring and general data center monitoring. But it's fantastic to know that people are recognizing the strength of SCOM for incorporating other technologies and other tools into one place. And that really has always been at the heart of SCOM and its extensibility. So just a couple of comments here. So people talking about increasing custom monitoring, driving a growth in SCOM, always introducing new monitors. It's our go-to monitoring tool as they use PowerShell more and more. And I think this highlights for the fact that many IT organizations, or many SCOM users, sorry, that really invest in their sort of authoring skills and their ability to extend SCOM, get some great results. You know, it can become really your go-to monitoring tool once you know how to extend it with new monitoring. And a theme that's come up, I think, more so over the last year than I've heard before, which is around consolidation of tool sets. We all know that we typically suffer from tool sprawl within an IT organization, but really I think due to budget pressures and this need to review your monitoring strategy with a change in on-prem and cloud mix, then I think there's been a real drive over the last year or so to have a tool consolidation project. So this has come up in a number of responses. So someone just citing the consolidation of our tool set for growing use of SCOM, someone else talking about migrating from other tools, and a third person talking about consolidation and monitoring tools as well. So it's great to see that SCOM is being recognized as one of those key tools that you will keep in a consolidation. You know, both as a best of breed for Windows Server monitoring, but also the ability to pull so much data into one place. That means that SCOM is here to stay for many organizations. Last one here, just sort of, I guess, summarizing a lot of that, we're using SCOM as more of a data source for integration, so not just a monitoring tool. It's actually a single point for integrations to come into, and this respondent using SquaredUp for the dashboarding on top of all of that data in SCOM. So a fantastic way of bringing it into one place and then making sure it gets shared to everyone through SquaredUp dashboards. Some great content at SCOMathon this year again that hopefully you'll be able to check out. So we've seen monitoring every system with no management pack or an API using SMTP from RAN. Can SCOM really monitor anything? That's a whole panel discussion around extending SCOM and being able to create a single pane of glass through SCOM. PowerShell and SCOM do it efficiently. Ruud and Serge taking us through that. And I've also included the SquaredUp session there for that sort of single pane of glass result, but also because we recently released SquaredUp 5.1 with some additional tiles, so PowerShell support baked into your SquaredUp dashboards, as well as the SQL connections and Web API connections, along with a number of others, where you can really go beyond just what data you can get into SCOM. So with the PowerShell tile in 5.1, you can pull data directly into your SquaredUp dashboards to really sort of fill out that single pane of glass view. Now, I've highlighted SquaredUp there. Of course, you know, the great thing about SCOM and hopefully the sort of SCOMathon conference here is that we have so many different vendors providing solutions, and I do really urge you to check out the vendor sessions from these vendors as well, because they're all contributing to the SCOM ecosystem and making sure you can do so much with SCOM. So check out those sessions as well. And then the very last one, sort of just a theme to pick out from the respondents saying their use of SCOM is going to grow, and I think a really nice a sentiment to share at SCOMathon, which is a trend around renewed community confidence in SCOM. So I just wanted to pick out a couple of comments, but there were sort of more around this. This one, it looks like Microsoft is finally giving more love to SCOM again. You know, customers feel that, and that's really important. If you are really going to grow and establish your use of SCOM, it is great to know that Microsoft are backing it. And again, just another comment here echoing that. So, you know, 3 reasons for continuing to use SCOM. It's a solid monitoring platform. Microsoft has a product on their roadmap, and it's extendable via the concept of management packs. So those are some of the reasons why customers cited their use of SCOM as growing. And of course, when it comes to sort of Microsoft's backing, there is one great SCOMathon content that we'll all be checking out, one of the sessions, sorry, and that is from the program manager Akash at Microsoft around the SCOM roadmap. So hopefully that would be a really good insight into what Microsoft are doing and how they're investing in SCOM. So those are the SCOM opportunities. There were, of course, some respondents saying that they weren't necessarily going to grow their use of SCOM or perhaps reduce it. Now, this is not the majority, so the majority were expecting a growth in SCOM usage, but it is good to still sort of understand what it is that's preventing that SCOM usage from growing or maybe causing it to decline. So the 2 themes I just wanted to pick out from the comments here. One was user engagement, and it's got to be really the chronic complaint and condition, not just of SCOM, but of monitoring as a discipline within IT operations. It is always difficult to get users engaged, and it is the thing you have to crack really to make monitoring successful. So a couple of comments here just echoing this. SCOM is not the tool which is accepted in my organization. It's difficult to engage other teams to build robust monitoring of their applications and systems. And note the sort of second part of that comment around, I don't expect that to change, which is a shame. Someone feeling that they're not really able to engage other teams, and they just don't see that changing. And actually a third comment, which was very, very similar, having a lot of difficulty trying to engage our teams when building monitoring. And I don't expect that will change anytime soon. So it is a difficult one. It is really the difference between monitoring being successful, obviously, is engaging those users. At the end of the day, you know, you're not monitoring just for the monitoring team to consume it. You're really monitoring an application for others to consume and benefit from. Now, of course, probably all the content we talk about at SCOMathon this year will broadly be around making SCOM better and doing more with SCOM. I actually wanted to call out just some content from last year. I delivered a keynote at SCOMathon 2020 around a manifesto for SCOM success, which were 5 points really around how to engage users and how to be successful with SCOM. The one in the middle there, putting your applications in the picture, that really is around that application monitoring piece where we've seen so many customers successful with SCOM, and that really translates your monitoring into a business benefit. You know, why are you monitoring in the first place? Because you're wanting to deliver a better quality of service to your end users. So it is worth thinking about that third point, putting your applications in the picture first, and then the other 4, just covering some ideas around how you can make sure you can execute on that well with SCOM. So making sure you're tuning up, not down. So you're not just drowning in alert noise, but you're actually alerting on actionable issues. Investing in custom monitoring, as we saw there, just with the opportunities in SCOM growth, really understanding how to customize SCOM, pushing your alerts into an ITSM tool to make sure people do respond to those alerts and they are actioned, and of course dashboarding your SCOM monitoring and making sure that that data is available to everyone. So do go check out last year's keynote and a lot of the content there that I referenced in SCOMathon 2020 for ideas around that. The other broad trend around why respondents expected their use of SCOM not to grow or to maybe to decline was cloud adoption. So we've seen this in both sides. So when we asked users why they expect SCOM to grow. It was cloud adoption, but also people cited it as the reason for not growing. So let's take a look at some of the comments here. I've chosen two, and I wanted to read them out fully because I think they probably capture broadly how many SCOM users are feeling around SCOM in relation to the cloud. So the first one, talking about why the use of SCOM is not going to grow, and their response is, but it's the focus on Azure or cloud in general. I would expect our use of SCOM to decrease or stay the same. So they're saying it's not going to grow with SCOM, but they sort of finish off with a nice positive comment, which is, I hope SCOM will grow still continuously from the help of Microsoft SquaredUp and the community. So really nice, again, sort of echo of that sentiment that there's a great backing around SCOM at the moment, and it's only getting better as a tool. The second comment, a bit longer, but again, I think capturing where a lot of organizations feel they are with SCOM and monitoring the cloud. They say the number of servers we have remains the same, but migrating to Azure. So it's a lift and shift up into Azure. But they highlight that right now they're not using Azure monitoring tools because they're not on par with SCOM. So any server that is being moved into Azure still has a SCOM agent, which is how many SCOM users are approaching it. They do point out, though, that in years to come, as their application teams develop more on Azure platforms, so platform as a service, and start to consume more software as a service, they see less reliance on SCOM, just because really that is not what it was designed to monitor. But until then, until they have fewer servers across on-prem and cloud, they don't expect to reduce their use of SCOM, and they're going to be sticking with SCOM. So, in summary, if you're monitoring servers, you're really going to be still using SCOM, whether they're on-prem or cloud. It is going to be, once you go beyond server monitoring and the platform monitoring and software as a service monitoring, that you'll probably start to look at other tools. So that's looking at both the opportunities and the challenges based on how you expect your use of SCOM to change over a few years. We also asked the survey respondents what was their wish list, what features would they like to see in SCOM. So I thought I'd pull out a few comments from this question as well, just because it's really good always to see what people are thinking about in terms of new features in SCOM and where they'd like the SCOM roadmap to head. So a few themes to pick out. The first one is going to be very familiar, and that's user experience with SCOM. So loads of comments here around modern console, faster experience, improved dashboards and reporting. Now, of course, we know that there have been some great improvements in the SCOM platform itself from the Microsoft team, and of course, hopefully you'll be familiar with SquaredUp and know it as sort of the recognized best of breed solution for improving the user experience in SCOM. So with dashboards, drill downs, and reporting. So there are solutions to this. Microsoft made both efforts to improve the platform, and of course SquaredUp offer a great solution for this. But it's still a desire to see that user experience improved. The other area is easier authoring. So again, I think probably something that's been asked for since SCOM has existed. We know SCOM is really powerful, but we know it is hard to get going with it and hard to sort of do all the things you do want to do with it. You have to invest a lot of effort in learning how to do this. So making that easier is what a lot of people would like to see. Easier custom authoring for custom classes and discoveries, improved group creation, wizards to create classes from registry keys, and the ability to create groups from file and add metadata to objects. And actually those first few aren't necessarily about new monitoring. It's actually just about sort of putting that data into SCOM, whether it's kind of grouping it, creating classes for your servers and other data, and adding data about those objects that you've imported. So really being able to just capture and structure the data in SCOM more easily through authoring. And then two that just reflect the need for SCOM to keep pace with the changing environment. So they want to see here native database and PowerShell support. So hopefully everyone at SCOMathon will be familiar with the free PowerShell management pack from Cookdown that extends SCOM really natively with PowerShell support, but still looking to see more come from Microsoft there themselves. And of course, keeping pace with other areas that you need to monitor with SCOM. So one highlighted here around being able to monitor web APIs or pull data in via web APIs, and sort of, again, like that single pane of glass solution, pull data into SCOM so you have it all in one place. The third area is tuning. Again, another familiar area for wishlist items for SCOM. So the need for different overrides for different times of day or different days of the week, auditing customizations and overrides, easier alert tuning, and the option to import management packs with monitoring disabled and then just turn on the monitoring that you need. Now, of course, this has been on the wish list for a long time, and that is why Cookdown created EasyTune. They've also, just at the end of last year, updated it to EasyTune version 2, which includes, for example, time of day reporting, time of day alerting. So do go check that out if you haven't already checked out EasyTune v2. Hopefully, you'll see how it can really transform your alerting and tuning in SCOM, but also feedback to Cookdown. If you want to see something different there, please do feedback to Cookdown, because they do really want to solve this problem. And the last one, of course, no surprise, on the wish list is seeing more features for cloud monitoring, but specifically sort of cloud integration. So that the comments here around unifying SCOM and Azure Monitor, integrating with cloud and monitoring MPs, integration with Azure monitoring tools, and more cloud monitoring natively in SCOM. There were a couple of comments here, one around container monitoring. When it does come to monitoring cloud resources beyond the servers, often it's containers that are high on the list. So the application teams adopting containers to deploy their applications. And of course, they're much more dynamic, much more sort of fast moving and shorter lived. And it is a challenge to monitor those with SCOM. So definitely a need there. And here the last comment, just around actually using Azure to host the SCOM databases as well. So not just monitoring SCOM, but being able to host, not monitoring the cloud, but also being able to host SCOM in the cloud. So the need here for being able to use Azure SQL, for example, for those SCOM databases. So for example, you could put your data warehouse up into Azure and not need to worry about managing that or paying for that on-prem. So those are some of the wish list items that came through from the Big SCOM survey. Of course, head over to the user voice channel for SCOM if you do want to upvote or sort of raise your own suggestions. The Microsoft team do follow user voice very closely for that feedback around SCOM. But it's good to see a lot of those items come through on the Big SCOM survey as well. So with that, I'm just going to wrap up. The last thing before I do is just to end on a bit more of a positive note, because we talked about some of the challenges and some of those wish list items, which is we asked respondents how likely they are to recommend SCOM to a friend or a colleague. And this is actually a very standardized question that many vendors ask about their product, just to find out where they sit in the mind of their customer, and it's used to calculate something called the Net Promoter Score, or NPS. Now you can see the results on the right-hand side. It was a fantastic result. So 80% scored this question 8, 9, or 10 in terms of how likely they are to recommend SCOM to a friend or a colleague. So that's just wonderful to see, and that results in a Net Promoter Score where 9 or 10s are promoters, 7 and 8s are neutrals, and the rest are detractors. You can work that out as a Net Promoter Score of 37, which you can see there in that little chart puts SCOM in the category of great. So it's really, really good to see that the SCOM community are still very much behind SCOM and willing to recommend it as a great monitoring tool to use. So there you go. Thank you very much to all of the survey respondents from this year for the Big SCOM survey. It's been a great insight, and hopefully you've enjoyed sort of seeing some of those comments. And again, go to that blog and the coffee break to learn a little bit more about the full results. And make sure that next year you have your say. So we'll be running this in January next year for 2022, and hopefully be reviewing the results again in SCOMathon 2022. So please look out for that survey coming your way in the new year. All right, with that, I will wrap up. Thank you very much for listening. Have a great show, and I look forward to continuing the conversation across the 2 days of SCOMathon. Bye for now.